Coach Jeff was just talking about the running quarterbacks, and you guys 2 weeks in a row have seen it. And he was talking about you've got to do a better job than what you've done. What do you see in Leonard as far as what he can do, and does it help at all that you played against him last year?
Well, I was going to say, we've actually had to study and prepare for him 2 different times now, and one thing is consistent, he's really good. Looking at his film from last year, the things we had to look at, the guy throws the ball well, and he's a really athletic runner, especially for a guy with the length that he has. You'd think sometimes they're awkward when they run, but he's not. He's able to change direction. I've seen him hit it. We were, just upstairs looking at it just now. He's able to do some things against some defensive ends and some linebackers, and even some secondary players, to where he's able to stop and start and restart, and they can't redirect and change direction well enough with him. So, that's just something where we're going to have to really spend a lot of time all week long making sure that we're fitting the run correctly. Because if you don't have enough hats to him, then he is going to make you look poorly, and he's going to be able to pick up yardage and hurt you. And it is true throughout the season so far. We've experienced some growing pains, shall we say, making sure that the run is fit with the quarterback. And as we all know, anytime you're willing to run your quarterback, you got an extra hat, you got an extra gap when you can block with the running back and add them into that scheme. So there's no doubt that's something that we've got to not only shore up, but become very proficient at before Saturday, to make sure that that's not anything that would keep us from winning this ball game. But absolutely, obviously Riley Leonard's a great player.
Mark, for Antonio wants to come in and kind of get that starter role. I mean, somebody seems like Jeff Brum's talked about a lot since he got here, but how have you just seen Antonio progress, and what's that been like in terms of just kind of him earning that starting role?
Antonio? Well, Antonio is he's actually in our defense considered part of our secondary, so he's not in my room with me. But I will just speak about Antonio just because he's a tremendous young man who's got he's got a fantastic attitude, and he's just so physically gifted. I mean, he's very athletic as far as being able to adjust and play a lot of stuff in our secondary, because in that role as the star, he does have to go and do a lot of stuff that would be considered in the role of a safety. And then he has to come down into the box and be able to do a lot of things that are linebacker skill set, be able to play in the A and the B gap and be physical. He's got to be able to take on tight ends, and offensive linemen, and then go cover the top receivers in the secondary. So, he's just a very athletic kid with some great strength. He's got enough size, but still athletic ability to be able to fit into that role. Those players, both Antonio and Ben, that play that position, that's kind of a hybrid kid. You can't just be a big stiff. You've got to be an athletic young man, and you can't just be an athlete only. You got to be big enough to go do those 2 different skill sets. So, he and Ben both possess great skill set to do that job, and that's why they've been able to have some success there. So it is nice, and they'll continue to improve week to week and as the season progresses.
Mark, you're someone who's coached defensive line and linebackers, and when it comes to the QB run game, how would you describe the communication responsibility between those 2 groups in terms of recognizing when a QB is either pulling or handing that off, and how to stay on your assignment in that scenario?
Well, it's not an easy thing. That's why people do it so much. And then they do it, and if you have the right athlete, like we talked about a minute ago, then it becomes extremely difficult to defend. You have to be on point. But it's just repetition. I think it's a lot of repetition. Having a good scheme and a good plan in place, and then be able to rep it over and over and over again. Because what they want to do is create questions between who is defending it. Is it an end? Is it a backer? Is it a 3 technique? There's certain ways some teams, can get it to where you're having to use an interior lineman to read D lineman to read. They're reading him to figure out pull or give, and when you're doing that, then you're creating in your mind as an offensive coordinator, a mismatch to where that guy can't athletically match up. But so constantly being able to change the way you're doing it and not always give them the same look, so that it's not always, hey, they're going to defend it with this guy, so we'll block him or we'll read him or whatever it is, giving them different looks and different approaches so that they don't know exactly. It's always going to be the Mike backer. It's always going to be the outside backer. It'll always be the end. You have to give them different stuff, just like they're giving us different stuff, so that they can't settle in, produce a great scheme, and then attack you and dissect you, play by play. Give them something different to look at as it goes, so that they have to at least change what they're doing if they're going to be successful.
Mark, I know TJ was out there for a lot of snaps the other day, and it seems like Stanquan's getting more and more as comfortable with the amount of snaps he's getting. Do you feel good with those two guys? And then how are the other guys behind him kind of progressing, to come in and give him a blow?
Well, as you know, TJ, I would hope, would be used to those kind of reps because he took probably 90%, 95%, I should know the number, but he took the vast majority of every snap from last season and did a really good job with it. I thought, obviously things improved, but did a good job. And then Stanquan was the guy that was, he was a freshman learning. He was anywhere from 10 to 20 snaps a game. I probably say averaged around 15 snaps a game. And obviously now he's moved into that starter's role, and his snap count has, of course, logically escalated drastically. But I was really pleased with what they've done. Anytime Stanquan is a sophomore, much different than being a freshman, but there's still plenty of room for improvement for all of us. But it is nice to see also, Dan Foster came in and played, I think it was 19 reps last weekend, and did a really good job. And then Geronte Davis, who's been here since January, has also he's played well for us. Now he didn't get as many reps last weekend, and that's probably more on me than anything else. I need to make sure we do it, especially with the heat being what it is right now. And you do want to develop all those guys so that you don't have to play two guys and two guys only, so that there's not a drop off. And so between Geronte and Dan, I think that they've done a nice job, and will continue to do a nice job throughout the season. They're very committed to improvement, both with the schemes and all that kind of stuff, but just the physical attributes. And those are old head guys. They're both guys that have played a lot of football. They're not freshmen that just got here, so I think we can count on them to be in the right spot, doing the right thing. And so that makes you feel good that you've got at least a two deep that you put out there and feel comfortable you win ball games.
Yeah, first road game. Are there anything that you and the coaches have to do differently to have your guys ready to play on the road as opposed to being at home?
Well, no doubt it's always good to be here with our fans and with our friendly confines on Friday night and Saturday morning, all that kind of good stuff. So I think the biggest thing is just the preparation, sitting with Coach English upstairs every day, and I know what our offensive staff does too. I'm not in there with them, but making sure that the kids throughout the week, the players, are comfortable with what we're doing. And then when you go on the road, we're going to still do the same meetings and the same progression on a Friday night that we normally would. You just won't be sitting in these rooms. You'll be sitting in a hotel somewhere. And I think, doing it all last year, not all of these guys did it with us, but a lot of them did. So, the older guys will transfer that down to the young guys, and it will be the first time we've done it this year. But the way it's all set up, it runs very smooth, and, there's plenty of time. We're never in a rush. So, Coach Greg Braum always has everything set up to where we've got plenty of time to have our meetings, to talk with our kids, and I've heard Coach Braum and Coach English both, hey, you're going to work to and through the game. So we never stop, whether it's Friday night or Saturday morning. We're going to continue to have our meetings, our walkthroughs, and all those things from my recollection of last year were smooth and excellent, and continue to make the kids feel more comfortable with the schemes and what we're going to do to be able to execute on game day. So, of course, you've got travel, included, but that's part of it. You're going to have half your games here and half your games away, and so that's part of the fun of it too, to do something different and engage with the players in a different way, but still keep them comfortable in doing what we normally do, just at a hotel or at a different site.
Mark, to follow up on the QB run prep again, from the Jacksonville State game to the Georgia Tech game, how do you feel like your guys progressed in understanding that better and executing this time?
Well, I think they did a nice job. There was, and it's been, and it will be again, but in each one of these games, we've known we're going to have a big dose of quarterback run. You know, it's something that, again, it's a smart scheme because it does, if you don't do it right, you're gonna be down a gap. You know, you're gonna be sitting very light in the box. So that's what we've worked at, and it's been good for us as far as having some continued, they're not all the same, but some similarities as far as being able to talk about how do we fit this out. You know, what did we do well here, and how can we change it to make it better? And I do feel like in anything in life, and football is definitely probably as acute, you know, a small microcosm of this. Repetition is huge because you can see, again, hey, we did this very well, let's hang on to that. We did not execute this very well, let's adapt, let's change, let's manipulate this one way or another to make it a better, make us more capable of fitting the quarterback run. So no doubt, you got the whole grand scheme of it, man. If we stop the quarterback run, then it makes their offense different. And that's not just this week, it's been the last several weeks. But this will be a big part of what we got to do this week as well, no doubt. And that's not going to stop them from doing it because that's what they do. They're really good at it.
All right. All right, Coach. Thanks.